Andrew McFadden, who is now the Warriors Development and Pathways Manager, and aren't they flying in the lower grades? What a great fella this is. We're about to chat to, ladies and gentlemen, Andrew McFadden. Welcome to the Run Home with Joel and Fletch.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Tell you what, Fletch, I used to play against this bloke as a young whippersnapper. He was too quick, too smart, and just too good, Andrew McFadden.
Oh, I think you're cutting yourself a bit short there, Joel.
True. Okay.
No, Macca, he's spot on. He's spot on. Hey,
yeah,
Macca.
I wasn't going to say that, but I thought it was going to be polite.
So, Macca, what is your title over there? You're doing a little bit of everything over there.
Yeah, look, it's a bit of a mouthful. It's the NRL recruitment, development, and pathways. So. Look, I'm basically responsible for managing our roster with Andrew Webster, and then obviously our pathways, which is all our junior teams.
Well, your pathways, you're doing a good job there because you've won the Harold match 2 years in a row, and also your reserve grade side, you're flying in there. Are you undefeated in second grade?
No, I think they've had one loss. They've had one loss, but they're sitting at the top there and doing very well.
Hey, Macca, you've coached first grade for those who, the younger types. This man we're speaking to, gun player, went on to coach in the National Rugby League 3 full seasons, by the way, Andrew McFadden. Now you're in development and pathways. Do you have that itch still to scratch as a coach, or you love what you're doing now?
No, I think I've scratched the coaching itch. I sort of made a decision about 3 years ago when I left Canberra. I'd spent 4 really good years there with Ricky, but it was just getting to the point where my kids were getting a little bit older and I wanted a bit more stability. So I thought I'd get out of the coaching game and try my hat in something else. And fortunately, there was an opportunity to come to the Warriors.
Mate, the signing of James Fisher-Harris last year, we were just saying, it was a wonderful get. And he has been great, albeit he's been injured the last couple of weeks. But Erin Clark... Holy hell, hasn't he made a difference to this side? When did you decide you thought, Erin Clark needs to come and play for us?
Look, it was very much like James Fisher-Harris' situation. It was a bit opportunistic, but certainly we thought he would have a huge impact. He was playing pretty well on the Gold Coast, and he just felt like it was really right for him to come home. And he is, you see when he plays, where he's around the club, he's as happy as he's ever been. He's home, and he's playing excellent football, and he's probably taken his game to another level.
Yeah, did you? Because as you mentioned, he was solid enough at the Gold Coast, but I feel he's been, along with Luke Metcalf and Wade Egan, he's been in the top 3 best players. Was that a reason why releasing Dylan Walker? Like, could you see, had Dylan asked for a release last year and Erin was going to cover him, or did the Dylan Walker thing just sort of play itself out this year?
Yeah, look, the Dylan Walker thing, really, it caught us by surprise. I mean, we knew there was some personal circumstances that were going on, but certainly we expected Dylan to be here for the season. But he asked for a compassionate release and we really couldn't stay in his way. But I think the comfort we did have is that we had signed Erin Clark. And we felt like, it was something that, we didn't want to stand in his way, given that we did have a solution for that.
Chatting with Andrew McFadden, the Warriors sitting in a lofty position in second at the moment. He's titled Warriors Development and Pathways Manager, which when you read it out like that, it sounds pretty self-explanatory. However, it's probably not so basically conveyed. How would you say it goes about? For example, so that the Pathways Manager, the development piece, when you sort of identify a player, is that on you or is somebody handing that to you? Is there a big pyramid here where it all sort of cascades up towards the coach? How does it ultimately play out when you... I'll tell you a good example would be a marquee signing like James Fisher-Harris. How does he ultimately land at your club? What's the process?
Well, that one I can't take any credit for. That was extremely opportunistic. There was more luck than anything. James wanted to come home, and that deal was done in about 72 hours.
Wow.
That was amazing because we obviously lost Adam Fennell-Blake, and we were desperately trying to find an experienced front rower, and it just so happens that that James wanted to come home. So it all. I remember the phone call from Cameron George, who rang me and said James Harris wants to come home. And I thought he was lying. I thought he was joking. So it happened very quickly. So yeah. Can't take any credit for that one, boys. But
just claim it.
Certainly very fortunate about that one.
Claim it, Macca. I always do. Just claim it. It's yours.
Look, I mean, to answer your question, Joel, your information around, recruits comes many different ways. I'm very lucky. I've got a good pathways team, and it's led by Tony Oro, who's been a long-time servant of the club, and you probably know him pretty well, Fletch. He was reasonable at socialising as well. So,
was he?
Yes. Very reasonable.
Yeah, look, he does a great job. He's got to take a lot of credit for that. The last two Harold Matthews wins, and I'm very lucky to have a really good team.
Macca, as a former halfback, the rise of Luke Metcalf as a game manager, I was lucky enough to sit on the sideline in Magic Round, and I couldn't believe. I knew he could play, the kid, Luke Metcalf, playing as a running 5'8", but what he was doing off the ball, how he was marshalling the troops around, because I got to sit on the sideline and I could hear him quite vocal. Did you know he had this in his game before you selected him at number 7?
Look, I think certainly from Andrew Webster's and the coaching staff in the pre-season, they were really optimistic about where he was heading and that he was definitely a number 7. And it's obviously taken a little while. It's a very new combination with him and Chanel Harris-Savita, and it was always going to take some time, and still got a lot of potential in front. But I think the coaches were very bullish about it, but it still has to transpire on the field, and it's great to see him, really playing with some confidence at the moment and really having a big impact on the result.
Yeah, no, I just couldn't get over how. Like, I understand as a halfback you've got to talk, but he was into everyone. But doing it in a way that sort of wasn't degrading them. Like, I saw young Halasima did an offload, and it was right on the sideline. And who'd you play? Cows. And the Cows picked it up. And then he ran to the next time they had a scrum, he ran over to him. And because I could hear everything, the way he was sort of describing how we needed him, like he's building him up
still getting the message across.
Still getting the message across.
Wow.
It's a very, like, he's quite an intelligent kid, Macca, is he?
He is. He's a bit of a footy nerd.
Yeah.
So and you can see that's in his game, and I think his evolution is, it's largely down his maturity. He's at a good age, and he hasn't had a lot of luck in the last few years, to be fair to him, and but he's always had that potential.
What about the kid coming through? The kid with the surname Cleary. First of all, how's he fitted into the club?
Oh, look, he's a beautiful kid. He's been great for our club. He sits in our Warriors house, and he's a real connector. He brings people together, and he's developing very nicely. He's still got a fair bit of physical development to go, but his game's similar to Nathan's, but a little bit different. So, it's good to see him develop, and he's playing very well at the moment.
Is he? Do you think he'll grow into like a Cleary body, like a Nathan? Like, because Nathan's quite a solid halfback, or is he more sort of slight, Jett?
Look, he's slight now, but he's tall, and I think he will. Yeah, he hasn't trained full time yet. So he's done some train and trial with our NRL squad, but I think it's when I think you've seen that with Sam Healey this year. Sam Healey he was like a beanpole last year, and this year he's really got a lot thicker, and that's because it's his first full NRL pre-season. So I think you'll see that in the future. Jett will come into our full-time training next year, and hopefully that'll be enough. He'll put on some weight, and I think that'll have a big impact on his game. Chatting
with Andrew McFadden of the Warriors. Macca, can you share with us, we asked you about James Harris, but how did the case of Sam Healey go? Because it is unique. So too Jett Cleary, where both sons of guns, and they're both not at the club where their fathers are or were, in the case of the Sharks. Bitch Healey, a Sharks great, of course. How does that play out? What happened with the Sam Healey story?
Look, it was something that we followed Sam for a while, and we're probably looking for someone that was a bit more like for like with Wade Egan.
Yep.
We felt that when Wade was injured, he had a couple of head knocks, and when he was injured, we just lost a little bit of our flow because of the different styles. And we thought that Sam would probably complement Wade a lot more, and I think you can see that. So very similar styles, got a bit of differences. Like Sam's probably a bit more of a runner, but certainly it's very much adding some value at our trainings, and it gives us a lot of depth.
Mac, are we speaking to Paul Bunn, who's the recruitment officer down there at Melbourne? He was saying they look ahead 3 to 4 years, for their salary cap or their roster. Is that how you guys sort of work? And how far ahead are you guys looking?
Oh, look, you'd certainly have to have, I've got projections right into 2029 and 2030, but, they're all, guesstimates, I suppose, but you've certainly got to start to map out what it looks like. Probably the serious stuff really happens sort of, 12 to 18 months out. Probably 18 months is where you start looking for just because that's the nature of how we recruit these days. It's as soon as November 1 hits, it's like, right, game on if you want to recruit. But I suppose for us, we've kind of changed. When we got back to New Zealand about 3 years ago, we want to make a big, priority in developing our pathways and making sure that we've got local kids come through. So I'm hoping as all these young Harold Matthews kids, mature and grow and get older, that the need to recruit from outside of New Zealand is less and less.
Now, Macca, there's a few teams going around who've signed 10-year deals for players. There's the Tinos and the Dylan Browns. This Leka Halasima, he is going to be, if he's the way he's started his first grade career is unbelievable. Now he's in your starting side as a back rower on edge. He can play anywhere. Is he a kid that you would think about giving a long-term contract to? And if he is signed at the moment, when does he come off?
Yeah, look, he comes off in 2027, but that's you bang on. He's certainly one that we want to have a big part of in the future. And look, I would say we're starting some initial talks with some of our younger kids, and that's where the long-term projection and looking to the future comes into it. We've got to pick the right ones, and I think you're spot on, Fletch. He's certainly a pretty special talent.
Was he just in the lower grades, or as a kid, was he just slaying them?
Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you. The first time I saw him was at a training session. He was awful.
Wow.
But it's funny. Like he's a game player. He once he steps over that line, he's a different beast. He's unbelievably competitive, and look, his training's improved out of sight, and that's why you're getting the consistency now. But he's always a special talent, and it's great. We've had him pegged for quite a while. We knew he was going to come on, but it's still a guess, I suppose, and it's just really good that he's he's showing what he's capable of. But you're right, he's got a massive future.
Fletch, my memory could be wrong here, but I think it's on the money here, Andrew McFadden. We're catching up with the former Raider and Warrior and now part of Pathways. Well, leading the Pathways. Yes. So you said, Brian, with the Pathways they're flying, they've won the last two Harold Matthews, which these days is under 17s.
Yep.
Back in our day when we played, it was SG Ball under 17s. Am I right in saying that you won the SG Ball, Macca?
Yeah, we won the Harold Mats and the SG Ball. We had a pretty decent squad with Todd Payton and a few other likes. Royston Lightning, you remember him?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Ted Simpson.
Ted Simpson, yep.
And the point-scoring machine, Matt Gaffer.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. The Kelly brothers.
Yep.
There's a number of them. So, yeah.
Shawnee Fensom, was he?
No, he's younger. He's younger. No, but the reason I bring it up, Macca, is because when you won the SG Ball, which is the 17s, which is the equivalent of Harold Matthews now, is how you'd hear about you guys. You'd pick up the paper on the Monday, and in the very, very fine print, it would say, SG Ball, Raiders 42 defeat Illawarra, 2 tries McFadden, 1 try Payton, 14 tries, Lightning. Ted Simpson picked up a try. But these days, like, I'm getting sent TikToks of, we're calling him the chess piece, Bishop Neal.
Yeah.
You know, like how hard is it on two fronts? Where honestly, like, you guys, no matter what you did, you weren't spotted anywhere other than a bit of fine print in the newspaper. These young kids now are blasted everywhere over TikTok and social media.
Yeah, look, it's a new world. I remember when Bishop Neal scored a try. I think it was at Pukekohe over here in New Zealand, and I think it was all of 5 minutes after the game. It was already up on social media. So it's it is a new world. I would have been just happy just to get my name in the big league back in the day, but it is something you just got to. Yeah, it's how you get your information too. To be fair.
How are you winning the battle over there against rugby union? Because kids, I understand Kiwi kids, when they grow up, they want to be an All Black. Is that sort of changing a little bit, do you feel?
Yeah, look, I think it is, Fletch. I think it's just our game's going so good, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think the NRL's flying at the moment. Like, every game I watch, I'm into it. And, I don't know if rugby can say the same. So, certainly over here, we're making some inroads. It is still dominated by rugby. But certainly, with what the NRL side's doing and the support we get, not just here, but in Australia as well. I think we're making some ground, and hopefully we can continue to do that.
Yep, Andrew McFadden, it's been a treat having you on, mate, and lots of texts coming through saying keep it. A lot of questions, which we couldn't get to all of those. We tried our best to sort of mop them up, Brian, didn't we?
Yeah, there was one here. I think it's the wrong Macca. They're thinking about that wasn't you trying to tie yourself to the goalposts in the grand final. I said, no, that's
the Mac attack.
That's the other. Do you see much of McClendon?
I haven't seen him for quite a while.
Right, okay.
I did have a funny story back when I was head coach of the Warriors, and I was still getting called Mark McClendon back then.
Yeah.
So, there's not too many people that remember that now.
No, well, the Mac attack. The rumour goes that the Mac attack on that grand final, McClendon from the southern end and waiting at the northern end was Mark McClendon. It was going to be the Mac attacker back. I'll tell you who's back to Australia. I'll tell you what, your first grade side, Macca, you haven't been at home for some time. You've obviously a Kiwi side, but you've been to Christchurch. Then you went to Magic Round for Suncorp. Then you went to Wynn Stadium in Wollongong. Now you're back to Suncorp. So the boys haven't really been home. This is a major assignment with your team sitting in second position under Coach Webster, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. And they've got one home game next week and then another two away. So it's a really important period for us. And look, it is what it is. We just got to accept that over here. And hopefully the boys can get it done on Saturday night.
I noticed Roger's included in the squad. Is he? What's the? How's he coming along? Just for if I wanted to see if he may score anytime. Sorry, did I say that out loud? Sorry, mate.
I wasn't a trainer. I'm not sure where he's at, Fletch. He must be close.
Yes, okay. I'll take that on board. I'm reading between the lines.
And Macca, your team's very close to a minor premiership. Long way to go. Good on you, Macca. We appreciate your time on the run home with Joel and Fletch. I think we asked you the tours for about 10 minutes, but we've well and truly gone past that. But we do appreciate you. Such an affable, likeable bloke. And good luck to the Warriors this week in their big game. It's a massive game at Suncorp, taking on the Dolphins.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
there
mate.
he is, Andrew McFadden. What a great fella, Brian.
Yes. They were, when they were flying, those two.
Oh.
The Mac attack.
The Mac attack.
Both had headgears.
Mate, late 90s. They were two kids too. They were babies. They were like 18-year-olds just carving up the National Rugby League. What, you're still here? Well, you can see more on the Joel and Fletch socials and catch us live on SEN Radio, you beautiful humans.